The weekly Coaches News Conference on KLPS TV is brought to you by Hawthorne Bank, a proud sponsor of Liberty School District. At Hawthorne Bank, we understand the importance of strong community in a strong school district. We also understand the importance of strong financial future for our school district's families and for our local businesses. Hawthorne Bank, with you every step. And by Jackson Hewitt. For all your tax needs, personal or business, rely on tax professionals at Jackson Hewitt and Liberty, a full-service tax preparation professional. Jackson Hewitt.
Hello, welcome to the Liberty High, Liberty North High weekly football press conference. I'm Coach Clemens with Liberty North High School. The Eagles played Fort Osage Indians last week. Fort Osage is ranked third in Class 5. They were undefeated and unscored upon going into the game. We were ranked Class 4, number 3. We lost 38-17. Turned the ball over 3 times, and those 3 turnovers resulted in 3 scores, which turned out to be the difference in the game. Was a 3-score game. Boys played hard. We did a good job on both sides of the ball, being physical. We've got to take care of the little things in order for us to be great. I'd like to open it for questions.
Tough game last Friday, but what do you think about the controversial call when Fort Osage dove over the goal line scoring a touchdown?
Well, the way that the call was explained to me, and you know, most people are smarter than I am, so I'll just go with it. Is that the new rule in high school football is that you can't leap over a pile of people. According to the officials, leaping is defined as going feet first. The young man went head first, and to me, it seems a little safer to go feet first than head first, but jumping over a pile. Now I'll go with the officials' definition of jumping. They're probably right. But the big question is, did the kid have the ball when he went over the pile? And I know that officials can't see everything. But the kid dropped the ball before he jumped, but it was a big mess of people, and the officials don't have the advantage of end zone cameras and instant replay and things like that. So, you're going to get bad breaks and missed calls, and it's not the fault of anybody. Coaches make mistakes, players make mistakes, officials make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. You just hope that in the end, those mistakes don't cost you and hurt you. It was a tied football game at the time, and it was a big play, but they can't see everything. That's part of the game.
What do you think was the turning point of the game?
What I think was the turning point of the game, it was that touchdown combined with the interception that we threw on the very next play from scrimmage. That 2-play turnaround at the end of the second quarter, changed the game from a game that was clearly the momentum was in our favor at that point, having tied it up at 10-10 and demonstrating that we can move the ball on them, and then that exchange of the fumble / touchdown, then coming back and little things like, we caught the ball just outside of the end zone, stepped into the end zone, and then ran back the kick. We need to coach our kids better so that they don't catch that ball, that they let that ball go into the end zone, then we come out to the 20. Instead, we catch the ball, step in the end zone, come out, get tackled on the 11, 12-yard line, have our backs to the goal line, and then we come out and throw an interception that very next play. That was a turning point in the game. We went down 2 touchdowns really quickly. Overall, in the big picture, again, we competed well physically, but we made the mistakes that cost points, and you can't do that and beat a good football team.
Talking more about the halfback pass, what exactly were you expecting to get from
Well,
You take it back.
no. I'm glad you asked that question because as a football coach, you make 60 calls a game for, in my career now, 70 games or so. I'm not a very smart guy, but that's a lot of calls. There are calls that you regret. Now, we went into this football game knowing that we were going to have to manufacture some big plays if we wanted to keep up with Fort Osage. It's not unreasonable to expect an incomplete pass out of a halfback pass. It's not unreasonable to expect a ball to fall incomplete, out of bounds, short, whatever. We didn't have to throw the interception. It's another one of the little things that we need to coach our kids better in is, our receiver watched the defender catch the ball instead of going up and fighting for a football. No, we planned to make that call in the game. We knew that we were going to make it and that we were going to make that call at a crucial time. Fort Osage has shown that they're very aggressive in the defensive backfield, that they come up very quickly against the run. And so it was a part of our game plan to get them to come up and then throw it over their heads. Would I have liked a better thrown ball? Sure. Would I have liked a kid to battle for the ball a little harder than he did? Certainly. But, in order for us to win that game, we were going to have to manufacture something big. And we did do that with the long ball to Paul Silvio. We took our chances over the top 3 or 4 times in the game. I'd have probably taken our shots a couple more times if we had it to do over again.
On the defensive side of things, speaking of Stephen McBee, what would you have done differently to try to stop him?
Well, the quarterback for Fort Osage was an outstanding football player. From our perspective, defensively, we started off the game being aggressive, rushing him, and he took off and had a nice long run in the first quarter there. And I think that kind of slowed our pass rush down, and our kids got a little hesitant to get after the passer. He's a special high school football player, but we needed to continue to rush him. Our defensive line, instead of getting after him in the pass rush after that long run, they would stop and look in the backfield and check to see where he is instead of coming after him, and that gave him all day to throw the ball, which put our kids in the defensive backfield at a real disadvantage. We knew he was a great football player and that he would do great things. He ran for 100 yards, he threw for 160, 170 yards. He's going to do that every week. He's done it every week up until he played us. They shut out Park Hill South and beat them soundly. They beat Blue Springs South. What we needed to do, and we knew what we needed to do, like we said before, was to manufacture big plays on offense. We had to take our chances. We had to try to get whatever we could get when we had the ball, because we knew that it was going to be hard to stop them all night long. And it turned out that we moved the ball a little bit better than I thought we would. We only punted 1 time in the game. Fort Osage only punted 1 time in the game. The difference is we ended 3 of our drives with turnovers, and that turned out to be the difference in the game. Everything else was really even for the night.
Although last Friday was a loss, do you think scoring the first touchdown on Fort Osage was a success?
Well, scoring the first touchdown on them, that's not what we were aiming for. We were glad to score, certainly, but we'd rather won the football game. I think that Fort Osage is a more polished football team than we are. Maybe they're coached a little bit better than we are, and we need to improve in that area as coaches. We made a deal with our kids that we'll coach them better, and they made the deal back that they'll be more coachable. Fort Osage is polished. They've been good for 7 or 8 years. They've been kind of under the radar on the Kansas City football scene, but their worst record in the last 7 years has been 8-2. They're a great football team. They were in a state championship game just a few years ago. Last year they lost in the playoffs to Staley 7-6, and scored at the end of the game, went for 2 to win the game and didn't get it. And then the very next week, Staley scores 76 points against Lee Summit West. So, I mean, Fort Osage is the real deal. We want to be like Fort Osage. You know, one of our goals as a coaching staff is to look like Fort Osage. They're polished. They don't make mistakes. They're sound on both sides of the ball at every position. You know, they can beat a whole lot of football teams.
So what things are you going to take from this game and use next week?
What things are we going to take from the game? You know, I think it's a great learning opportunity for our kids that football is not just about blocking and tackling. It's also about the little things. It's about making the right decisions. If we tell you to, if the scheme calls for you to run a 15-yard route, run a 15-yard route, not a 20-yard route. If the scheme calls for you to, cover the deep half of the field, you cover the deep half of the field. Physically, we matched up well with Fort Osage, but like I said, their football team is more polished than we are, and they showed it in the game. So what we've learned from the game is that if you don't polish things up, you're going to lose to the really good football teams. If you want to be a great team, you've got to both be physical and you've got to execute everything perfectly right down to the smallest detail. Fort Osage does that. And, our next opponent, Kearney, does that. Really, I talked about one of our goals is to be like Fort Osage. One of our goals is to be like Kearney. Both of those teams, in my opinion, are the two best coached teams in the city. Fort Osage has done a great job with average athletes at times, great athletes at other times. Kearney's the same way. They win 8 or 9 games every year, no matter who puts that uniform on. It's because they're coached so well. They don't make mistakes. They take advantage of other teams' mistakes. They pay attention to the details. And if we don't pay attention to the details, our schedule is such that that what happened Friday night can happen again several times this season.
Do you think Antwon's injured toe affected his running on Friday?
Do I think the injured toe affected Antwon? No, I think it's the best I've ever seen him run. Fort Osage has not allowed a 100-yard rusher in something like 7 years. Antwon ran for 90 yards. If we gave it to him 19 times, and in the past we've been known to give it to him 30 times and 35 times in a game. But in all honesty, those kids from Fort Osage, they run up and they hit you, and we didn't want to expose our running back to that 30 times. Those kids, they fly around and they hit you low, they thigh board you, and they're aggressive. And we knew that, again, we had to take our shots downfield, so we went ahead and threw it 25 times, and Brian Sharp did a great job. We had 3 drops, but Brian threw 2 touchdowns. I mean, he's going to be a special quarterback. But with the addition of Brian into our offense, we can take some of the load off Antwon. We don't have to give it to him 30 or 35 times a game, and we can rest that toe a little bit. I want to hand it over to Coach Freegon. Congratulations on a big win.